You're probably wondering what this is. And to be honest, it's the whole point of the sermon. But let me rewind for a minute. Oof. Keep going. There it is. It all goes back to January 2020. And I was in a class on Sabbath.
Jesus, our brother, strong and good, was humbly born in a stable road, and the friendly beasts around him stood. Jesus, our brother, strong and good.
We really unpack the theology of Jewish and Christian practices of Sabbath rest, going all the way back to the story of creation, the Creator God resting on the seventh day, the story of the Exodus, the people of God escaping slavery and Pharaoh, and that Egyptian economy that was commodifying people, and creating a new alternative vision of life together as the people of God, where rest had its own day. We had no way of knowing that early part of January that soon the world would suffer a global catastrophe, and we'd have to put these lessons to the test. Do you remember that moment? That moment when it seemed like we might just maybe be able to reset everything. Reset our sense of what's important, the expectations of our culture and economy. That as our world was flipping upside down in the pandemic, for a minute there, it seemed like maybe life was flipping right side up. At least as far as our rhythms and priorities and pace and perspectives and values and each other were concerned. Of course, that didn't last long. And just like that, the world went back to normal. Our dreams of collective unity and the common good vanished as quickly as they appeared. And everyone returned to their separate camps, opposing sides, only this time somehow more dug in than we were to begin with, or at least more aware of our differences. And the economy, it needed people to get back to work. So that's what we did. And maybe because we had this fleeting vision of what could have been, it made it that much more difficult to return to the grind. But it was probably more the case of that other thing, that raging, mutating pandemic. Nothing had changed, and if it had only become more exhausting. To power through your daily life with all your work responsibilities and your home responsibilities and your family and your lover and your friends and the grocery store, all of that, while also living in a constant state of hypervigilance and fear. And it's because the culture, it has these built-in obligations and expectations around work and time and commitments and worth. We are what we produce. We are only as respectable as the hours we sacrifice at the altar of someone else's dream. We strive and we earn and we buy, and we consume, and we show, and we tell, and we need it all in order to feel like we have sufficiently hiked ourselves up by the straps of those boots that don't even match our wardrobe. This hustle culture is dependent on our own codependence, in which we only find our self-worth in the number of hours we overcommitted to. We carry either pride or shame, two sides of the shiny coins they award us. It's like this pride is a badge of honor that proves we earned our keep in how much we've done or earned or achieved or purchased. And shame, we embody it when we don't work overtime, when we take a break, when we give time to ourselves or our family. We give so much to our careers and commitments related to them, to earning our keep, to boosting our reputations, to striving for our successes, to proving our worth, to showing that we are important, that when it comes to the important things in our lives, the actual things that matter, they don't really fit. But it's all we know. It's what we've been taught. It's how this is supposed to work. It's how we get ahead. And by getting ahead, maybe then you can get a break. But I don't see any of that in the sacred stories of our scriptures. I don't see any of that in the sacred retellings of who God is. In fact, God is the one who is calling us to rest, not to strive endlessly. The God of the Exodus was offering Sabbath rest as a way to be different from Pharaoh and the Egyptian empire of slavery. The God of creation was modeling Sabbath rest as a recreative practice of self-care. The God in the text from Matthew 11 is inviting us to find real rest in the company of God, to tap into the unforced rhythms of grace. God desires us to flourish. God wants us to enjoy this life, to make the most of it, not to waste it on accolades and accomplishments and accumulation, on consumerism and becoming commodities, and reputations and restless striving. The creative God modeled rest and offers rest, not because God is a slacker and isn't earning God's keep. God is pushing rest on us because it is essential to a good life. Resting to recharge. Resting as renewal. Resting as recreation, as recreation. Reframing, rewiring ourselves from the inside out and the outside in, our physical bodies, our minds, our spirit. There's this remarkable phenomenon that connects with this, and it has to do with our brains. It's called neuroplasticity. And in short, it's when our brains change. It happens most often after a brain injury or a stroke, when the brain and the neural pathways are damaged. In order to regain certain functions, the brain finds and creates new neural pathways. Children's brains are especially neuroplastic as their neural pathways are much more active and they have many more synapses. And it's why they're able to learn so much more than we are in our adult years, because over time, as we grow older, those synapses that we don't use are pruned away. On the other hand, we can still change our brains. Learning new information, like a new language, or learning to play a musical instrument, and new hobbies and exercises, meditation, and a number of other activities each offer our brains the chance to create these new neural pathways because we are learning and engaging with new information. For Jewish people and Christian people alike, the concept of Sabbath is not merely sleeping 8 hours at night or adding in a power nap between shifts. It's a space in time and a state of mind whereby we are giving ourselves over to ourselves and to God. We are entrusting to God those things that will not be finished, whether we work or whether we rest. It's an act of faith and humility that God is the one who sustains us and the world anyway. But at the same time, we are giving ourselves permission to indulge the goodness, the delight, the joy of this one life we have to live, as the poet Mary Oliver would say. When we immerse ourselves in a bit of ourselves, in our dreams and joys and delights, we rewire, reframe, recreate ourselves. We remake ourselves in relation to our world, and our priorities, our responsibilities, they shift. They become clearer. And we find our rest to be recharging for our physical bodies and rejuvenating for our minds and reanimating for our spirits. A Sabbath rest is about giving ourselves permission to be curious, to wonder, to learn, to adventure, to explore, to experiment, to improvise, to try, to create, to make, to rewire, to change. So I've been reading more fiction lately, dabbling in poetry, photography. Been trying to play music a little more often, and I've even reached out to a friend to try to learn how to play the cello. I've tried my hand at a few new cooking recipes that aren't strictly ramen, and I've even tried potting succulents in some empty candle jars. And I found myself remembering who I am, or why I'm here, and at the same time realizing that it's a really open-ended question too. Why are any of us here? What is this all about? Who are we? And when you strip away the things that we typically use for our answers, our careers, our goals, our titles, our reputations, our accomplishments, all of the things we've said, we're left with a void that can either be terrifying or invigorating. Another double-sided coin, to be sure, but one that we are flipping and earning and paying to ourselves, all at the same time. You're probably wondering what this is. To be honest, it's the whole point of this sermon. It's you and me. It's the one life we have to live.
It's a beautiful, wonderful, marvelous, mysterious thing. Oh, love. makes you want to dance, want to laugh, jump around, make you sing. Jesus walked on the water. He made a blind man see. We all just want someone to ride in the passenger seat. Love is magic. It's a beautiful, wonderful, and marvelous, mysterious thing. Oh, love is magic. Makes you want to dance, want to laugh, jump around, and make you sing. Love is magic. Love, it will not betray you, dismay you, enslave you. It will set you free, make you more like the man you were made to. There is a design and alignment to pride of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to. Love, it will not betray you, dismay you, enslave you. It will set you free, make you more like the man you were made.